Hello, everybody. Welcome to a new School of Data Skillshare. My name is Marco, and I work as the program manager for School of Data. School of Data is a project and a community of change makers who empowers journalists, civil society organizations, and citizens to make use of data. As part of this work, we produce a series of video Skillshares run by the members of our fellowship program around various tools, methodologies, and aspects of data literacy. They join our growing body of learning material that you can find on schoolofdata.org. Today, our speaker will be fellow Goran from Macedonia, and he will be introducing himself before talking about our main subject, which will be learning how to do timelines and time maps with TimeMapper. Goran, on to you.
Hello, everyone. As Marco mentioned, my name is Goran Rizaov. I am a School of Data Fellow for 2015. I'm also a journalist based in Macedonia, in Skopje. And in this recent period, I'm working with the Metamorphosis Foundation on open data related projects. I'm also doing investigative journalism. I've been working with the Balkan Investigative Reporting Network for some time. I have experience with reporting for daily newspapers, online news outlets, magazines, etc., etc. Today, I will talk to you about TimeMapper. I will share my humble experience in working with timelines, and I have prepared a small presentation for you, which I'm about to share. Okay, so first I will do an introduction for TimeMapper. What kind of tool is it, and why is it used, and when is it used? And let's see the outline. After I introduce the online tool, I will talk about the target audiences that can use this kind of tools. And it won't be, although the main subject will be usage by journalists, but it won't be just for journalists, because it has various potential users. It can be used in education purposes. It can be used for presentations. It can be used by CSOs, civil society organizations, and so on. Then I will explain when and why time maps can be created, what kind of data you need to do this, and what kind of skills you need. I will show a few use case examples, and I will do a small demonstration on how easy it is and how fast it is to create a time map. At the end, I will share the sources and references for this presentation and for TimeMapper. So let's begin. Time maps. What are time maps? First, let's mention that TimeMapper was built by the Open Knowledge Foundation Labs. And in fact, it is a combination of more than one tool. It's a combination of Timeline.js and Leaflet. Timeline.js is an online tool built by Nightlab, and it's used for creating timelines. Leaflet is a tool for creating maps. So as you can predict, TimeMapper gives you the ability to create timelines and maps at the same time. It gives added value to the timelines by giving the option to have a map with it. It's open source. It's free to use. It requires only a Google account and a Twitter account if you want to log into the tool. Logging in is better because you have all your time maps listed, and you can create a custom URL for your time maps. The end result of the working with TimeMapper is a highly perceptible timeline with a map beside, and it can be embedded into any website that you use. It looks great visually. It gives context to your stories, and there are three types of products that you can create with it. There is a timeline, the usual timeline, a time map, which is timeline and a map, and just a map. So there are three different ways to use it. Who are the target audiences for this kind of tools? Well, besides journalists, it's mostly used in journalism, but besides journalists, it can be used in all kinds of different occasions. It can be used by activists, it can be used by educators, historians, CSOs. Journalists can use it as a tool for digital storytelling. Most often, it's used as an addition to a complex story that cannot be told just with text, and it needs digital tools to go with it. Activists can use it to show chronological chain of events that are connected with their work and make a bigger impact. Educators can use it to present information about their classes. Historians can use it to underline key events, or they can use it as a tool for biographies of certain historic figures that they want to present. And it can also be used by weather professionals, if they want to show on a map certain events that changed in a period of time. Civil society organizations can use it for promoting and presenting their projects, and so on. So now I want to concentrate on when and why to use TimeMapper. Journalists often, maybe not that often, but they do get to work on complex stories. And they might not be so understandable if it's only written in text. So when this kind of stories are written, there is a need to use digital storytelling tools, which makes it very easy for the reader not to be overwhelmed and his attention to be kept in a longer period of time. It's really convenient when a complex story includes data that involves numerous events that can be chronologically given in a nice visualization, and which is a timeline. And if there is a location data or geodata in it, then a map is added also. So what does TimeMap do? It simplifies. It simplifies complex stories. It gives time and space perspective. It connects events that might not be obvious that are connected to each other. It shows a chronological order. It looks very professional. You can choose if you want to show the latest event first, or you want to show the first event, or you can choose to show the most recent event in your first slide of the timeline, as we will see later how it looks. And it really helps the narrative of the story. And what is most important in this kind of stories, it's critical when you do a time map or a timeline, it's critical to concentrate on the most important issues. The most difficult thing is to decide what not to include, because it has to be short. The descriptions have to be short. They have to be well chosen, and they have to link to each other in a nice narrative. Okay. Now I will, in this part of the Skillshare, I'll show a couple of examples that show how it's best used in different occasions. And we will go through the template that is given by the tool itself, which is self-explanatory. You don't have to think a lot in order to know what to put where, what kind of data to put where. And we will take a look at the geocoding and how the locations are entered, and various types of locations and things like that. So the template, it looks like this. You have several columns that are required. That's the title column. And here you put, sorry?
Yeah, hey Gar, is this a Google Sheets, or what kind of template this TimeMap uses, TimeMapper?
Yeah, it's Google Sheets template, and the link to the template is given on the website itself, on the website for the tool. And you just open, if you need to have a Google account. You open it in Google Sheets and you start adding, you make a copy of it and you start adding your data. And I will go through the whole process and explain how it all goes.
Right.
Just to
so you don't have to have Excel or LibreOffice installed, or any other application.
No, you can use Excel also for adding the data. You can copy the template in Excel or in LibreOffice, but at the end you would have to have a copy uploaded on the Google Drive in order to use the link for the time map to work. So it's how the tool works.
Okay.
These are the two prerequisites. You have to have a Google account and a Twitter account if you want to log in. You can also do it anonymously. You don't have to log in, but you won't have a list of your time maps, and you want to have the opportunity to make a custom URL.
Oh, okay.
Which is sometimes convenient.
All right. So show us the template.
Okay. Now this is the template. This is where you add your data. It's a spreadsheet. It has several columns in it. The required columns are only 2 of them, but it's good to use all of them. You need to have a title. It should be short and explanatory. You need to have a start date, where you add the date in the timeline. This is the date that will be shown in the timeline. Now, I need to note that the date needs to be in American format. So you first add the month, then the day, then the year. It's shown right here in the example. And you can add an end date, which is also for events or some happenings that took place in a longer period of time, for several days or several weeks. You have a description column where you need to add a short description of your event. There is a web page column where you can add an URL for a web page that further explains the description. And there is a media column where you can, this is a really nice column because you can embed any kind of media with just copy pasting the URL. You can put a video in there, a picture, tweet, whatever, and there is a caption for the media item. It's also optional, but it's explanatory. You can use it, and there is media credit. There is also a tags column, which is not shown in this picture, and I will talk a little bit later about the location and the place columns and geocoding, how it's done. This is an example that I found online. It's about events connected with police brutality and killings of African Americans in the United States. It has dozens of events that happened in the States that are also shown on the map. And it has short explanation, pictures. It shows the date. You can see the timeline in the bottom. And it's all interactive. It's clickable. And I will show it in a link how it works in a while. Now to go to the geocoding, there are three ways to add data, and so in order to be shown on a map, you can add after you add the place. You can see the example: Paris, London, Europe. You just add the city and the state, and in the location column, you add latitude and longitude. In order to get this latitude and longitude data, you might have to do it manually. You copy paste it from an online service, which gives you the data, or you can do it via an import XML formula that is already added as formula in the location column. So when you add the places, it should automatically give you the latitude and longitude, which is really convenient to use. And for advanced users, it can be done with a Google App Script or GeoJSON if you want to add different kind of layers or polygons on it and stuff like that. So now I will go back and try to show you. Okay. I will try to show you a short demonstration on how to use TimeMapper from beginning till the end product, or a time map. I have already opened my TimeMapper template, and it looks like this. And I've decided to use pollution data from numbia.com. The reason why I decided to use this is because a city in Macedonia is...
Goran, are you sharing your screen?
Sorry, no. Just a second. Okay. So the reason why I decided to use this data is because the city in Macedonia, Tetovo, is ranked first on the pollution index, and I will try to make a time map based on this data. I already started adding something. I decided to put. Let me go first on the TimeMapper website and go from the beginning how to create a time map. So first, if you want, you can log in. As I said, it's used only with your Twitter account, but you don't have to log in. You can do it anonymously. Then when you click on create a new timeline or time map, you have a pre-prepared example, which when you open, you have something like a template, and you start adding your data. I already started to add a couple of rows in this spreadsheet, and it shows Tetovo Macedonia on the date when the data was downloaded, and the pollution index in the description. And I embedded a YouTube video with just copy pasting the URL. And when I added Tetovo Macedonia in the place column, it automatically gave me the location because of the import XML formula that is given here. And it did the same thing with Cairo, Egypt. The source of the data is Numbio, but and there is a URL also. You can put the source of your image also here. It doesn't have to be just the source of the data. So you can work on your spreadsheet. Then we can add Akagana. I need to log in, obviously. Okay. Okay, now it's better. Just for the sake of presentation, we'll put another date so we can see the timeline below. The pollution index would be 97.30. Here we add a picture which I have prepared previously from The Guardian. We just copy the URL of the image and we paste it in the image column. When we add the place, it should automatically give us the latitude and longitude of the location. And the formula works. Yes, it works. The source would be Guardian. Okay. And the URL would be this. I will add one more. It's Kathmandu, Nepal. Let's put 38. You can see that the dates are not, the start date is not it's not in American format, and it's on the left side of the column, so it's not recognized as a date. So I would have to format it in a different way. Sure. That's better.
One thing that's worth mentioning, Goran, is that the dates in Google Spreadsheets, they are set using the file's location settings. So when you go to File and Configure Spreadsheet, you can select the location, the spreadsheet settings. You can select the location of the spreadsheet. Yeah, right there in spreadsheet settings. And then if you choose a location, see there's United States. That's why it's changing all the dates to the American format. But if you change for your own country, then you can format the date in whatever format is supported by your country. So that's just like a small tip when working Google spreadsheets, because sometimes it uses the same language that your Google account is using. So if you're using your Google account in a location where it's an English-speaking country, it might import those settings.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Well, okay, thanks. Well, unfortunately, Macedonia is not listed here. And if I use a country that uses the same format for the dates as Macedonia, then I will have to change them again. But it's good to know that I will leave it as United States now because I already changed them in American format. But it's good to know that it can be changed and have the dates formatting as you have them in your own country. Okay, we added the pictures. So now, after we added everything, we need to share the time map. We go on File, Publish to the Web, and click on. Oh, this one is already published. If you click on Start Publishing here, it will publish the spreadsheet, and it will make it possible for you to share the link. In order to do this, you click Share. You click anyone with the link can view, or just make it public. But if you click anyone with the link can view, then you can just copy it and go to the TimeMapper web page and paste the URL here. Now you see that you can give a title for your time map, and you can make a custom URL. Now here you choose if you want it to be a time map, which includes a timeline and a map, or you want it to be just a timeline or just a map. Here you choose how the dates will be shown, and you choose if you want to start from the first event in your time map, from the last event, or the most recent event, or today. Now when you click Publish, oops, it says object already exists. I don't know why it doesn't show. Let's check like this.
No, but this is good because this might happen with someone else.
Yeah, it
and we can troubleshoot now and see how this is. Maybe because you already created this example.
Yeah, maybe. So now I will try to do the same, but without logging in, and it should work. So we just copy the same link from the spreadsheet and paste it here. So now it should work the same. I just won't have a custom URL for it, and yes. So you see there is a video embedded here. This is the headline, the title, the short description, and the source with a link. Here there is a tweet embedded for Cairo. There is also title, description, and the link for the source of the data. The same goes for Ghana. I just added this. The pollution index in the description, source for the info. And you can see the map on your right. It shows Accra. To Cairo, but doesn't show Nepal. Let me see. So this means that the data for Nepal is not shown on the map. Well, you can work on this and check. Let me see. Go back to the spreadsheet. Okay, I didn't enter the data for it. That's why. All right. Okay. I have an image also. Oh. Okay. There it is. Also Guardian. And source URL. Now, in order to republish, you just add data and it should be updated by itself. Let's check if that will happen. Refresh. Yes, there it is. And you see the dates that I added are given in the timeline below. These two are in the same date. A few days later. So this was a small demonstration of how easy it is. If you want to embed your time map, you click on embed, you copy paste the code, and you have your time map embedded in your website. I will now go, just let me go back. Okay, I will next show you an example of a timeline that I did before for a story here in Macedonia. It's a corruption story that happened more than 10 years ago, but now, because there's a court case in the United States about it, there is lots of data that were published and lots of information that were unknown for the Macedonian public. So me and a couple of colleagues of mine got to some data sets that explain all the corruptive agreements that were made by former executives in a telecom company. And I was really wondering how to explain, how to visualize this data, and I decided to do a timeline, and it's not done with TimeMapper, but it's done with Timeline.js, and I will show how it looks like. Just let me share the screen. This is the timeline that I did just recently. It was 1 week ago, and it also has the same elements but without a map. It's only a yes.
I was just going to ask, what is the title? What is this translation of the title?
this one, this exact slide, I will show you the first slide. Okay, this slide, the title says Suspicious Agreements in the Telecom Affair. Because it's a domestic issue and the public is familiar with the story, it says things that we suppose that the public would know, but if it was done for international audience, then it might be a different kind of title. This one says Suspicious Contracts in the Telecom Affairs, and it has data about 20 contracts that were done in the period from 2000 till 2006, and the internal investigation that was done inside the company showed that all these contracts were actually under suspicion that they were used in order to corrupt Macedonian politicians. So it gives the date, the exact date. Let's go to the first one. This is the contract that was made on 5th of April 2000. Is a consulting agreement with a company called KAIB, and there is the amount of 450,000 euros, and it says what was the content of the contract in the short description. I've also added colors, background colors, to every slide to have a better visual presentation, and it goes all through all 20 contracts that together were worth more than 24 million euro. And there is suspicion that all these were used in order to corrupt Macedonian politicians. And the reason why they wanted to corrupt them is because they didn't want competition on the market. Macedonia had a law about liberalizing the telecoms market, and the company didn't want competition. They wanted still to make big profits from the high telephone prices, and they corrupted Macedonian politicians, and they succeeded to prolong the implementation of the law for 2 years. So it's really a big story in this moment here in Macedonia. We haven't seen a court case resolution, a court resolution for this affair, but there is a case in the United States which involves former executives of the company, and because their shares were listed on the stock exchange there, the U.S. institutions had the authority to go against the former executives. So this is how we found out about the whole affair, and it goes all over to 20 contracts on different amounts of money, from 10,000 euros to 7 million euros each. I will go back now to the presentation. There is one more example that I wanted to show, and this is an example of how TimeMapper can be used in a different way. It can be used not just by journalists, but it can be used to show, for example, books. Here, this was a time map made by Feedbooks, and it shows the history of British novels, I believe, and you can see that it has pictures for every novel, the front page of every novel. It has the year when it was published, the headline, short description of the storyline, and there is a download link for free. So this is also another example of how a time map can be done. And oops, sorry. We go to sources and reference. Sorry, is there a question?
Yeah, I will ask a question that's coming from social media.
Sure.
Could you build this same story with TimeMapper, the same story that you showed us, and how hard or easier would it be compared to timeline.js?
Okay, yes, you could build the same story with TimeMapper. And now when I thought about it, maybe it would be even better to do it with TimeMapper, because in the data that we had, there was information about the bank accounts where the money were transferred to. And these bank accounts weren't all in banks from Macedonia, but were banks all over the world, including offshore countries like banks in Cyprus and Switzerland. And it would be nice if I did it in TimeMapper, because I could show the exact locations where the money were transferred, and I had this data. But unfortunately, I didn't do it that way. And it's almost the same. It doesn't have many differences. It's very similar, Timeline.js and TimeMapper. So it might be even better to do it in this tool.
Yeah, yes. and like you said, TimeMapper is based on timeline.js, right? So they use the same code base. So they are very similar.
Yes. Yes, exactly. Very similar, similarly used. It has almost the same columns besides the place and the location column. The other ones are almost the same. Okay.
All right.
Any other questions?
Yeah, let's go to the next slide, and then I'll throw some more questions later.
Oh, I have the sources and references left. Here there are links to where from which you can learn more about TimeMapper and how to use it, to see advanced usage of it. There is a GitHub link with the issues that were found in TimeMapper and how to solve them. There is a link for a story about how to make or what makes a visualization memorable. And it's a really nice story about what people see in a good visualization, what makes a good visualization. And it shows that the visualizations that take 1 second to memorize are the same ones that are memorized if you look at them for 10 seconds. So it doesn't make much difference. If it looks good for 1 second, the same visualization will look good if you look at it for 10 seconds. There are links to Timeline.js and Leaflet, which are the combinations for TimeMapper. There are some examples of previously made time maps. For the geocoding, there's OpenStreetMap, GeoNames. There is also a pre-made tutorial. And there is a link to the template that is used to make time maps. So that would be all for this presentation. I can surely answer any of your questions or hear your comments and discuss whatever you want to discuss about in this Skillshare.
Thank you very much, Goran. What I would like to ask you is that how much time did it take for you to build that whole timeline once you had the data, right? What was the most difficult part?
The most difficult part, as I mentioned earlier, was to choose what to add in every slide. So it's really very easy to copy paste data in a spreadsheet and then copy the link and have it shown on a nice timeline. But it's really hard to concentrate on the headlines, the titles, and the part of the story that you want to share in the description. Because all of these had bigger descriptions. They had like hundreds of lines, which I needed to choose the most important and most valuable parts to share.
And what
So
would be your advice? I mean, do we first sit down and then we select all the slides first, or do we copy paste the data right away?
no, first you take a look at the data that you have and you make an interview with the data. You go through it and think about what would be most important for the audiences that will look at it, that will read it. Then you choose exactly what you want to share. You make a short but noticeable description, which is really one of the hardest things for journalists, because it's easy to write long stories and long texts, which can be hard to understand. But
Right.
the hard thing is to explain something complex in fewer words. So
Yeah.
it basically comes to that at the end.
Right. Okay. This has been great. Thank you very much, Goran.
Thank you, Marco.
Yeah. Can we see that slide again with your the last slide that you showed?
Sure.
Yeah. And I'll finish the Skillshare presentation with this. Thank you everybody for listening, for tuning in, and stay tuned on our social media channels. On Twitter, we go as @School of Data, and on Facebook, School of Data as well. And we'll have more Skillshares coming forward, so stay tuned. Thank you very much.